Hey people, I'm Rob, and this is Frank. For my first Blink and Stare video, I want to talk about some interstellar weirdness that happened not too long ago, and how a little weirdness can go a long way when people start interpreting the cosmos like others interpret Jesus on a piece of burnt toast. It all began in late 2017, when astronomers using the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii noticed something weird, a cigar-shaped object moving fast through our solar system. It became pretty clear that this cosmic traveler wasn't from our galactic neighborhood,
making it the first ever object detected from outside our solar system.
It was given the name Oumuamua, which roughly translates to First Distant Messenger. But what is this thing? Is it an asteroid? Maybe a comet?
Or is it an alien spacecraft taking a look at Earth in the hopes of saving it before humanity turns it into a smoldering ashtray?
Let's take a closer look and recap the curious case of Oumuamua and the theory that cried aliens. Okay, so astronomers see Oumuamua and start paying more attention to it, and looking at the data.
And, based on their observations, it has a long or flat body shape, is estimated to be about a half-mile long, and it's tumbling as it moves through space, which means it's probably relatively solid.
Now, all of that doesn't sound super weird, except for how fast it's going, or as astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson puts it,
there's speeds that it has that cannot be reconciled with the sources of gravity that would be pulling on it. So there it is moving among the sun and the planets, and it's not quite doing what you expect gravity to have done to it. Maybe there's outgassing from it as it neared the sun.
So it might be acting a little bit funny because of outgassing. But what is outgassing?
That's when ice inside a comet gets heated by the sun and is released in the form of gas, which creates the tail that comets have, affects how fast it's going, and where it's going.
But with Oumuamua, there was no tail, at least not one that we could see. Then, two Harvard astrophysicists published a paper saying that they may have solved the mystery.
To explain, here's Harvard professor Avi Loeb, a totally real human responsible for the education of other humans.
There was an anomaly seen in the data, and it cannot be explained by the most conventional explanation, which in this case is cometary outgassing. And so we propose an alternative interpretation, which is the only one I could think of.
That alternative interpretation? That the weird speed seen in Oumuamua was from a solar sail.
A propulsion technology that uses solar radiation from the sun to move a spaceship through outer space.
So, they were pretty much saying, maybe it's aliens. The news media picked it up and started publishing all these headlines saying that Oumuamua was maybe kinda sorta an alien spacecraft. But Robert Weryk, the physicist and astronomer who actually discovered Oumuamua, disagreed with that interpretation.
I think that their explanation, I think it's in contrast with what the data says.
I cannot think of any other possibility other than the outgassing that we find in comets, which seems to be ruled out because we don't see a cometary tail, or the pressure from the sunlight. There is no other proposal on the table right now. I would highly recommend for people to read the paper. If they have a better idea, they should publish it.
We did consider that possibility in our own paper, which was published earlier, and we dismissed it as not being physically valid. Again, there's no reason to think Oumuamua is anything but a natural object.
I am not confident that this is the correct interpretation because we don't have enough data.
So we think Oumuamua still has ice, and the sublimating ice gives it a small, tiny kick that gravity alone wouldn't account for. But that the dust it has is much larger than what comets typically have, and so we just don't see that from the ground.
And whether or not Weryk is right, and because it's too far away now to even see with a telescope, we probably won't ever really know what caused the strange speed in the first place.
Also, it's going to take Oumuamua about 20,000 years to actually leave our solar system.
So, if it's aliens, they must have an incredible amount of time on their hands. And I don't think the question should be whether or not Oumuamua is an alien spacecraft.
It's not.
It's whether or not the alien claim needed to happen in the first place.
It didn't.
It did make a bunch of headlines, and it did get a bunch of people thinking about outer space. I think that approach can have drawbacks, because when something wild happens in outer space and our smartest minds say that it's something that it turns out to not be, not only do they lose credibility, but the field of science does too, and people tune out. They stop investing and participating in the potential benefits of what outer space and science can offer. So for me, I guess the big takeaway is,
if there's something that happens that you cannot explain, the most extraordinary account to explain it is probably not the correct one.
I really want to hear what you think about this, so go ahead and leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.